it's not about like, that current moment. They are always planning 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later.
Sometimes 100 years later.
Just say.
Alright guys, recently Prime Minister Lee came out to address the nation and he said we need to give the government a strong mandate. Whether it's the PAP that you support or the opposition that you support, doesn't matter. Give them a strong mandate, whoever you feel should run the nation. And it was a bit out of character for him to say that the oppositions are not doing a good job. They are missing in action on a lot of key issues, and also they went AWOL. So seldom do we see Lee Hsien Loong coming out to really press the opposition down.
Those were his exact words.
Yeah, he used these
He's
terms.
just AWOL. Then everyone clap after that.
They don't want to displease anyone, therefore they have gone AWOL. AWOL.
Because usually you see him, he doesn't take bullshit, but usually you see him saying such stuff directly to the opposition members in parliament. So you say something wrong, he feels this is not right, he call you up there and there. But I don't really see him coming out and saying to everyone, these guys are not cut out for it, they are lousy, they are missing in action, they went AWOL.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons, right, is because firstly, elections will be coming. They want to ensure that the PAP secure as many seats as possible. Claim back the seats that they feel they have lost. So that is one reason. Another reason I feel is there are a couple of key issues that both sides see very differently. And this can be observed in the recent parliamentary sitting. So we see quite a number of clashes. Some are quite civil, like Indrani and Pritam. They're talking about the HDB stuff. That was quite a civil discussion. But then there are a few that are less civil, a bit animated, a bit heated. So like for example, Grace Fu versus Jamus. I will play a short video for you all for just a few seconds, see how the exchange went at the start.
So your range is higher than the government, is it correct?
The lower bound is lower than the government's upper bound.
50 to 80, yours is 58 to 133.
Yes, the lower bound that I gave you is lower than the government's upper bound.
Alright, alright.
Okay, so one thing you will notice about members of the PAP, right? Okay, I take the policies aside, take their positions on the different issues aside. You will notice that a lot of them, they can hold their weight in a conversation. They are good at verbal sparring. You argue with them, they know how to turn it back on you.
They can dish it back.
Most of them are. On the opposition side, right, this is not typical, but of course there are a few who can hold their own weight. Pritam, of course, he does a fantastic job, probably the best in the game. Jamus also does a very good job. So over here, you see Jamus versus a slightly less seasoned in verbal sparring minister. She's been around for a long time, but in terms of verbal sparring, I think she lost to him. In fact, she lost her cool later on during the debate.
Oh no.
You can see that's the start of it.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to see that part.
That part, okay.
It's not complicated. You set the target.
What is that rate? What is the number?
We can go with the government's proposed number. Say start with $25, as I said in my speech.
2025? Are you going to stay with $25 as well? Or
We would have to look at economic conditions.
So I like to repeat.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I understand that when a member asks a question, the other member sits down, question is answered, vice versa. There's some background between both
apologize for
parties.
that. I will sit down. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought in parliament, right, when you speak and debate over any issue, right, you're supposed to take turn.
Yes.
Oh, she lost her cool.
Yeah, she lost her cool a bit. And you see Pritam, right, I have a lot of respect for this guy because the shit he gets, people are constantly beating down on him, but he's always cool, he's always composed, he's always following what a gentleman should do. And over here he's also coming in saying, okay, let's observe the rules of the parliament. Somebody talk, you sit down first and then you can come and answer later. You see, there's a very clear difference in the way she is tackling the issue versus Jamus. If if you ask me who is right, who is wrong, it may not be as clear cut. Okay, maybe you might lean one side or the other. But if you see the verbal warfare, she lost. Yeah, so this was one heated exchange. There was another one that, this guy, Murali Pillay, he spoke out against Leon and Chambers, WP in general actually.
He said, and I quote, "Political courage means recognizing that the facts and assumptions that supported an earlier decision have changed. Political courage means being able to recognize that contrary arguments have merit, even though those arguments come from one's political opponents. Political courage means not opposing for the sake of opposing," unquote.
Okay, so that is basically he's just quoting what WP has said. Okay, WP said that political courage means even if it's coming from an opposition party, you entertain it, you accept it, you look at the ideas. And what he later on went to say, and the reason why I'm pointing this out is because this is just beautiful verbal warfare. What he basically said is, my friend, that is not political courage. That is just what makes sense. We do what makes sense. If your idea is good, we take. We don't care the pedigree of the idea. We don't care where it comes from. The source is immaterial. Quality of the idea is what we care about. Your idea is good, we will take it because this is what betters the nation. And then after continuing on for some other points, he came back to this. And he said, do you want to know what real political courage is? When you have to make difficult decisions, when you have to put yourself in a position where the citizens may misunderstand you, but you still do it because this will benefit the citizen, this is what political courage is. When you take that step knowing that the repercussions are good for them but may put you in a bad light.
And they have been doing it, and they are going to do it.
Yeah. So this was quite an interesting exchange because it shows the quality of how you can hold your arguments above just the ideas itself. Basically, what Murali was discussing is the GST rate hike. You guys familiar with what's going to happen for GST, right?
9%.
Next year 8%, following
Next year 8%,
9%.
following
Slowly, not
9%.
straight away.
But it's still going to be 9%.
So what do you all feel about? How do you all feel about this?
A bit choked.
Oh, you spend a lot of money,
I mean, it's sometimes need to buy groceries.
Yeah lah.
Then healthcare wise, clothing.
Oh, clothing. You just spend 1,000 plus on clothes.
1,000 plus?
For your pageant, 1,000 plus.
I feel the idea and increase in GST, right, is for sure not good lah. Especially for us citizens, average income. But if you look at it, 2%, to be honest, is not the worst, but the idea of it is bad. I feel like what we should do is, although it sucks, but understand why does it have to increase. Because if it's just increasing for the sake of increasing revenue for the country to be richer, just solely because of that, right, I feel that it feels shittier lah.
Yep.
Yeah, because we are paying for what?
And that's what a lot of citizens they think,
That's a problem.
So I feel it's important to go and understand the reasons, which I feel the recent parliamentary sittings did address.
Yes, but you have to listen for hours and hours before you can even understand what really is happening and the mechanics and the rationale behind everything. You probably need to sit through 18 hours worth of footage to really understand probably 3/4 of it. But never mind, let me try to do something. I'm going to condense everything that they have said, rather the gist of it and try to summarize it within 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, PAP side and WP side.
I think you should
Alright.
join.
Can try.
Which one?
WP,
Which one? You know what? Just now when we talk about you need to make tough decision, right? You know who is like that now? I feel Shavin is like that. When he knows that although will make him like a bad person, right? But he will only do what is right, what makes the most sense for long future.
And even if it's bad, if it has to be done, it has to be done.
Yeah.
Do you have an example?
Political
PAP?
courage.
Yes.
That is political courage.
Okay, I will try to summarize everything from the PAP perspective and WP perspective. So PAP is saying this. The GST hike is important. Why? Because government needs to have resources in case they need to spend on important things. Important things like healthcare, like the aging population. In case like we face another pandemic or something unforeseen, they need to have this resource to be able to amend it and make sure the issue is fine. Okay. The rate hike has been delayed for about 2 years or so already, because during COVID they decided this is a wartime period for us. Maybe now is not the time to increase. But now that the economy is picking up again, they feel this is the right time to start. Okay, so the WP's position is this. Inflation is very high right now. Understand that we have been delaying it. That was a difficult period for us, but we are entering a new difficult period. We haven't seen inflation like this in quite a while. Prices of everything is increasing like crazy. People are feeling the burden. And if we were to put in place a rate hike, this will carry on to increase inflation even further, which means the citizens will feel the strain even further. So instead of doing that, let's delay it more, and then we can assess the situation as the climate changes. Maybe as things get better, we can look into raising the rate. And the PAP's response is this. Understand your position, and you are right. People will face the burden. You have a rate hike, they will face the burden. But there's a better solution than delaying. If you delay, this is a fire you need to put out in the future, and the fire will grow. But if you do this instead, you commence right now, those who are more impacted, we will use the resources that we have, because we are getting higher GST also. We will use this resource to cushion the impact. And those who are impacted less, they can do their part to increase how much we are able to get, the taxes and everything. So this is their solution.
And talking about like cushioning, I feel like how they structure the entire support, right, is actually quite smart. Okay, and I'm talking about the assurance package, where they will give some sum of money out to the citizens. Okay, so this is how they structure it. So firstly, right, if you own more than one property or earn more than 100k, you are going to get, of course, the lower range. So the range ranges between $700 to $1,600 over the course of 5 years. So if you fit the first criteria that I just said, you will take the lowest range, which is $700. If you earn between $34,000 to $100,000, you are going to get the middle range, which is $1,050. But if you earn less than 34k, you are going to get the full amount, $1,600 over the course of 5 years. So this is on top of the GST vouchers that they will be giving us, and on top of the additional GST vouchers that they will be giving to the elderly who don't earn much, to help them. And then by doing this, right, the government will put themselves in a better position to help the nation when important matters come. When time calls for it, let's just say, touch all the wood in the world. If another virus hit us, what will happen? And one more thing, I want to talk about the people that complain and feel that these support packages won't be of much help of their situation. I feel that it's a misconception, and they don't understand the reason why these packages are constructed and given to them in the first place. I used to eat at a restaurant, that cost $60. Now I eat at a restaurant that costs $100. Same food, same everything. How much of the $700, right, that you are giving me is actually going to help combat all these? First things first, I feel that the strain that they are going to experience and the hike in prices, right, is actually from inflation and not GST. I feel that people are starting to mix this up, especially when the GST topic are increasing. The $700, right, or the support packages, right, are there to not help them eat like 16 times at the restaurant. So if you were to look at specifically GST only, let's take the $100 restaurant as example. Currently you are paying $7% for GST. In 2 years time you are going to pay $9 for GST. So the difference is $2. They need to understand that these support packages, right, are for the GST. That $2. And if you were to accumulate the increase in GST, right, the money that they give you will last you for a few years.
The difference.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, right, then I feel that people should really go and look at how and where they spend their money. And not just look at the $700 at face value, spend the $700 and then end up pointing fingers back at the government saying, why you never give me enough help?
Exactly.
You know, some people actually use all this help. They go and splurge on like their hairdo, all this kind. Within like 1-2 days, gone.
Yeah, they see it as bonus.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I got extra money. Then I find it ridiculous. It's so contradicting, you know?
Yeah, that's why the support package is so that you don't face the burden.
Yeah,
then you get money, you go and enjoy.
Go and splurge.
But you will take the 500, keep it somewhere, right? And use that 500 specifically and only for GST. You'll realize that by the end of maybe 2 years, you'll still have enough.
KP should be part of MOF. You're hiring.
MOF. Ministry of Food.
There's this guy from PSP, his name is Leong Man Wai from the Parliament.
Wow,
You know him?
Man Wai, the clown of Parliament.
The good old
You know the
Man Wai.
story or not about the Ah Seng and the Ah Kong?
Oh, he's asking aku. Oh my
You know.
god. Yeah.
Okay, you want to say the story or I say the story?
Okay, so basic.
Okay,
You want to say?
You say.
Okay.
Okay, good storyteller.
So basically, this is his story, and he said it in Mandarin. So I'll try to say it in Mandarin.
Wait. The magic, the language changing water.
Okay, so I condense his story. Basically, the idea is this: there's a grandson named Aseng, and his grandfather named Akong. So Akong take care of Aseng lah. And as Aseng grew older, he started to work. He started to contribute some money to Akong. Give him a bit of monthly allowance and stuff. This continued, and he continued to increase the allowance as he promoted, and he got promoted in his workplace lah. Eventually, Aseng got married and started to have a family. And because of having this new kid to support and all, he realized he's facing a bit of financial burden. But Akong still wanted him to give him money. So he would always have some kind of excuse lah. Can you give me more money next month because I need to take care of Amma, all this kind of stuff lah. So what Aseng realized eventually is Akong actually has a lot of money. He has money in the bank, like really a lot of money, more than enough for himself, more than enough for Aseng, more than enough for posterity, for the future generation. So Aseng was wondering, why is Akong doing this? I also care about my future generation, my kids and all this, but do I need to care to the point where I am in a position where it's very difficult for me? It doesn't make sense, right? So Man-wise analogy basically is asking people this: if you witness a situation like this, Aseng and Akong, do you think Akong can give a bit more to Aseng? Because even though you want to care for the future, there is somebody in need right now. What about the people in the present? That's basically his idea lah.
Thank you.
This reminds me of Simon Sinek. Have you guys heard of Simon Sinek?
Love is TikTok.
Yeah, so recently I watched his video, right? He shared that there are two kinds of games. So first, right, is the finite game. Another one is the infinite game. So for finite game, right, they have like fixed players, fixed rules, and an objective to win. So for infinite game, right, it's all about you don't have any fixed players, you don't have any fixed rules, and the objective is to keep the game going. So for finite game, right, it's like, you know, like when we play sports, like badminton, soccer, basketball. So when we play badminton, it's like, you know, when we play doubles, right, they are like 2 by 2 lah. So the objective is to get 21 points. So once we hit the 21 points, we win the game.
Which we always do.
Hey, me and
You haven't
Joseph.
counted in me, I haven't counted in me.
Okay, one day.
Which we always still do.
Joseph and I, we hit your 7-0, no.
7, but the objective is 21.
No, 7-0, we won 7 consistently.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is for a finite game.
And this is important.
So an example of infinite game, right, is like investment. You take a look at investment. When you hit like 1 million or 10 million, you don't feel like, oh, I win the game. But it's like an ongoing process.
The game carries on.
Yeah. So like another example, right, is like business. So in business, right, you know, like there are many businesses like keep coming up again and again. So it's not that, you know, you hit like 5,000, you win the game. So it's ongoing thing. But you know, a lot of business owners, right, they have that kind of misconception that, you know, I am in a finite game. So you take a look at the big companies like Apple, like Meta, like Amazon. Take a look at the leaders that, you know, handling all these companies. When they are doing certain work, right, or they are planning for their companies, right, it's not about like, you know, that current moment. They are always planning 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later.
Sometimes 100 years later. There are companies that plan for that because that's the vision. They work on the vision lah.
So all these leaders are visionary leaders. So I have a question for you guys. Do you think running a country, right, is a finite game or an infinite game?
Infinite.
That's a good point. Because if you realize it, right, there is a certain way the opposition is looking at this game. They are looking at it from the finite game perspective. Of course, they worry about the future also, no doubt. And of course, the people who look at it from an infinite perspective, they worry about the current also, no doubt. But where is your central focus?
They focus more on Asing than the Ama.
Exactly. Because when Man Wai talked about Asing, right, he said Akong cares about the future, but he needs to care about the present. Because somebody is in need in the present. But the reality is, this is the fundamental difference in the way they view things. One is viewing it from a finite perspective, one from an infinite perspective.
You want to be a great leader, change your perspective and play the game you're actually playing.
Alright guys, you've heard some of the things we discussed. It's a complex issue, but we tried to simplify it so that we can all understand and see what is the real crux of the matter. After you've heard everything that we've discussed, what are your thoughts on the rate hike? Do you think it really is a burden for everyone and it shouldn't be in place? Or do you think it is a burden, but it is justified and it will do more good than harm? Which is it? Let us know. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.